Welcome to News Laundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. News Laundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
Namaskar, Sat Shri Akal, Salaam Walaikum, and other such things. This is Abhinandan Sekhri. You're listening to News Laundry Hafta, and I will kick off by our usual slogan, Angrez Apna Lagan, or News Laundry Apna Hafta Kabhi Maaf Nahi Karte. Aandhi aaye, tufan aaye, sar kate ya mundi ude. And our guest has just cringed with that dialogue of mine, and he's holding his head and judging us that we come up with such tucha dialogues. But we'll see how good his dialogues are when we start. And all our friends will love our guest today on Hafta. But before that, those of you who are listening to Chhota Hafta, Mufat Khoro, subscribe kar lo. Our subscriptions are almost at 2,000 now, as in numbers. We have added many subscribers. So, and many subscribers have written to us, the new subscribers, and saying finally they had to give in and subscribe. So the rest of you also please come on board, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served, especially when it's a government, as was shown, demonstrated in the 3 years celebrations of the government, to which Ranga uncle really took the government to the cleaners. So let me introduce the panel today. Atul Chaurasia, executive editor. Hello. Hi, Atul.
Hi.
Manisha Pandey.
Hello.
A journalist.
Yeah, just a journalist.
Just a journalist.
Just a journalist.
Our consulting editor, Anand Ranganathan, who has just invented the cure to stupidity, because you were missing in action because you were in the lab last week. So people asked where you were. So I said he's inventing the cure to stupidity. So have you managed?
No, I tried it on myself. It doesn't work. I'm sorry.
Now don't have to be humble and modest and all. And our guest today. Our guest, many of you have read his columns. You have seen him pontificate on television. Swaroop Sharma.
He was prepared.
This was,
He was, he's been waiting to do this.
6 months aa gaye.
Mihir Swaroop Sharma is a Delhi-based economist, author, and journalist. He's a freelancer now. He used to be with Business Standard before the Indian Express. Now he's at the Observer Research Foundation. You're a fellow there?
Mm-hmm.
What is
senior fellow.
What does a senior fellow do?
I'm not quite certain, but I'm fairly certain that they'll tell me at my exit interview.
This is all that happened last week, and we will take up whatever we can in an hour or 20 minutes. India's GDP slows to 6.1 in the fourth quarter. It's 7.1 for 2016-17. However, I have read pieces and heard people say that even this number cannot really be trusted. I would like Mihir's view on that. Then there was a demand by a judge in the High Court of Rajasthan to declare the cow as a national animal and give people life term for slaughter. No, sorry, that is Rajasthan High Court. Oh, the same judge, right? Who the peacock judge. Okay. Centre's new rule has now...
Peacock judge.
So there's a new rule that bans cow slaughter or beef consumption. That's the Kerala High Court. I think there's been some debate about the interpretation of this and misleading headlines. Maybe we can discuss that. There was tragedy in Kabul. There was a blast where 80 dead and 300 wounded. This happened near the Indian Embassy. IIT Madras PhD scholar beaten up by students who participated in a beef festival. Even on that, another narrative has come up that there were attacks on both sides, but the media just played it up one side of the attack. Maybe Manisha can...
This along with the AMU story dominated quite a lot of the headlines.
So here there was very vague reporting on both these issues. Maybe
on AMU certainly. IIT Madras I didn't follow that well, but AMU there was a lot of misreporting.
And the Election Commission's hackathon is not a hackathon, it's an EVM challenge. And now the Aam Aadmi Party says they'll host their own hackathon while the Election Commission is doing what it's doing. And Amit Shah had a lot of interactions with the media. There was one for the print, one for digital, one for television. Mihir, did you attend?
For some reason, Amitji does not invite me.
Sudhir bol raha tha main. Mihir.
One and the same thing, to be honest.
Just shed some light. I was seeing Vivek Kaul, who I actually really respect on his take and analysis on economic indicators. So he is saying that this data is so screwed that GDP investment ratio is at an all-time low, and demonetization, unmitigated disaster, it is conclusively proved. And if you could just take these two, and is this job numbers so spectacularly worrying, or has it always been so bad ki bhai, what are we getting so excited about? Are we just overreacting because it's Modi?
Okay, so on the GDP numbers, look, even if you don't believe, as many people have sadly come to disbelieve, I'm not one of them, but many people have come to disbelieve the actual size of growth. They've said 7% nahi, 8% nahi hai, 6% ho sakta hai, 5% ho sakta hai, 4%. I'm not interested in that at that point. What is really interesting in the last bunch of numbers has been that you see a distinct slowing of the of growth over the past 5 quarters, money since last spring. So you see that things have been getting worse and worse. So it's not just demonetization. This is what is important to take away. Demonetization has obviously hurt, which it was always going to. The government would say, "Ha, theek hai, that's a temporary thing, the thing, and we'll get over it soon." The real problem is that for some reason we have been slowing even before that. And remember, people will say, "Nay, we inherited a bad economy, etc., etc., etc." Sure, even if you say you inherited a low growth economy, at the time that Modi took over in 2014, growth was increasing. Now growth is decreasing. Okay. And that is a question that the government has yet to satisfactorily answer. Ye kyun ho raha hai, and what are we doing to fix it? That's the real takeaway, I think.
And before... sorry, can I?
Sure.
Yeah, I have two broad questions for Mihir. And here I disagree with him on what he's done, how he's behaved over the last 6 months.
In me or Modi?
No, you. You see, the point with Mihir and a lot of other economists is that they have rightly criticized demonetization, but they have stuck to the economics of it. My thing is that when you do that, Mihir, you do not focus on the devastation demonetization caused on the social fabric of this country. So what happens is economies, they crash, they collapse, they rebound. Now the point is, when they rebound, then what you've been saying, you would get contrary opinion to, so you were saying this, and then the whole point is demonetization devastated. It was I keep repeating this, social Darwinism and all that.
It was a crippling blow to the people who needed help.
Psyche, most, yeah. And I expect people like you to actually have focused on this. I haven't seen a
But he's an economist, so the numbers mein baat karega.
Yeah, but
you make a very good point, but the problem is that it's very difficult to make that argument when demonetization was being sold as an attempt to completely destroy and rework the social fabric of India.
Manisha, just tell us about this story that made headlines about AMU. By the way, abhi chal raha hai na kya? Ramazan kehta hai? Ramzan. Tell me this AMU. What was the story? Why were all reports vague? And what did our reporters find out?
So last week, this Delhi High Court advocate tweeted out saying that AMU mein Hindu students are being forced starvation is happening of Hindu students. Ramzan is happening, even they are not being given food. This was followed up by some propaganda websites like Internet Hindu and all picking up the story saying forced starvation of Hindu students in AMU. And then the media jumped in, and there was a lot of, again, similar headlines in Scoop Whoop and even Swaraj, I think. Yeah. So what happened now, AMU has 17 hostels. They don't have one diktat on food. There's no food policy during Ramzan in AMU. There are 17 hostels. All hostels have their messes. All messes have mess in charges, and they decide on what's being done during Ramzan.
The mess in charge is a student.
No, mess in charge is not a student, but there's a students' committee, dining committee also. So now out of those 17 hostels, 4 of them are girls' hostels. They serve 3 meals. Others have different rules. So what happens?
Don't fast?
No, they do, but they serve. No, so the thing is that they changed the timings for the lunch, dinner, and breakfast to Sehri and Iftar. So for majority of the fasting,
Sehri and Iftar, sabko pata hai. Sehri hota hai when you eat before the sun comes up, right? And Iftar when the sun goes down, and in the middle you don't eat at all.
Yeah. So the mess timings change for the fasting students. So you get food during Sehri and Iftar. For non-fasting students, different messes have different rules. Some of them don't serve lunch because they say that there aren't enough students who eat lunch, so there's no point. Some of them prepare lunch on demand, so the students get together and say, 5 of us are going to eat lunch, prepare lunch for us. 2 of the hostel messes don't give anything at all. They don't give lunch, breakfast, dinner. They only give it during Sehri and Iftar. And this is the hostel where there were complaints. And interestingly, the complaint came from a Muslim student. A Muslim fasting student wrote to the VC saying that some of my fellow classmates are facing an issue. We shouldn't be doing this. This shouldn't be so ad hoc. The problem here that it was ad hoc.
And our story has explained this, that 17 hostels.
It wasn't as if AMU collectively has a policy during Ramzan ki hum non-fasters ko khana nahi denge, which is how it was portrayed. It was ad hoc, and I agree. I mean, it could have been, if you have a thing like this where majority of people are fasting and, you don't want to cook for the 2 students that aren't, it should be regularized. You have,
right.
And the students should know the rules.
Right.
And expecting non-fasting students to get up at 2 o'clock for breakfast is ridiculous. I agree. But that wasn't the case in every mess, which is what it was portrayed as.
I just want to come to KPS Gill. What I just said, KPS Gill died. I don't have a very firm position on whether I think he was a hero or a villain. I think he was maybe a bit of both. I do know Punjab was, when they say it was almost lost, I think that's a bit of hyperbole. Yes, there was, I have relatives who had to leave there. But the fact that he also, that doctrine made a lot of people who would not ordinarily have been terrorists is also true. That's also a truth. The fact that the terrorists' writ prevailed is also true, and his iron fist crushed that. My only disagreement with both sides is that he is credited with having crushed the Khalistan movement. I think they overlook one important aspect. That is, what crushed the Khalistan movement was Bhindranwale's death. Nothing else had as big an impact.
I disagree.
Once Bhindranwale was gone, it was leaderless. That is when it went down. Till Bhindranwale was alive, killing kept happening on both sides. There was no crushing happening. And Bhindranwale was killed by the army, not by the police. And for those of you who've read Operation Blue Star, who've read Mark Tully and Satish Jacobs' book, and have also read, even Manoj Mitta's book has some background on it, will know that the army killed Bhindranwale not because of the police, but in spite of the police. It was the most compromised police force in the country. It was playing both sides. They were as mafia-like as these things. And once the army killed Bhindranwale, the task of crushing that movement was a lot easier. So he may have been good or he may have been bad, I don't know. But Bhindranwale's death finished the job which was done by the army.
I disagree, Abhinandan, for the simple reason that I'm probably older than you. I'm just guessing here. So I've seen the birth of the Punjab problem, and to the point where I actually feel that we'd lost Punjab. And I'll tell you, Bhindranwale was killed in 1984, right? Operation Blue Star, and I visited the Golden Temple 2 months after that. And I saw the Akal Takht, which was completely destroyed.
Yeah.
It was basically, bombed, tanked. And according to me, that image was the one that actually exacerbated the Punjab problem much more than the image of Bhindranwale's, dead Bhindranwale. And that was the cataclysmic event, if you want to call it that. So because what else does how else does one explain that you had the Longowal Accord?
Sure.
And, in fact, 85 was considerably peaceful. But then came, the whole, so I think the quote unquote part destruction of Akal Takht and Golden Temple is much more to do with the real Punjab problem that happened. And then, when I was in college, and I remember, the transistor bombs, and I really thought, and, daily occurrences of people being taken out of the buses and shot. And I actually thought Punjab was lost. So coming back to Gill, the issue with, and I was actually thinking about this issue the other day, which is, would Gill have been successful in the times of social media, in the times of, so much of, you can call it intrusive, but you can call it revelatory, news or whatever it could be. And the other example that comes to mind is, and, Mihir would, probably comment on this, is, the kind of pummeling of the growing Naxalism by Siddharth Shankar Ray. Not many people remember that, what Punjab was, what Gill did to, to quote unquote solve it. He did solve it. Actually, Siddharth Shankar Ray did to the Naxal movement. He completely destroyed it.
Atul?
And those are the two events that would not have happened in today's age. Mihir?
I will just say that I think that there's an assumption that we're making that is flawed. And the assumption that we're making that is flawed is that he solved the Punjab problem. And that in fact, the larger assumption that is erroneous is that in any way, something that in the Indian state did solved the Punjab problem. The Punjab problem was created artificially by mismanagement, maliciousness by Indira Gandhi. And it was, it was promoted and pushed by Pakistan in the late 1980s. And when the Kashmir Valley blew up, Pakistan diverted resources from Punjab to Kashmir. Kashmir blew up after 1991. Punjab insurgency died after 1991. It's a direct correlation. And, once Pakistan stopped supporting the Babar Khalsa and all these people, they discovered they no longer had a long shelf life as militants.
And they
couldn't go back and forth. They had
there was no ground
money.
support anyway.
They had no ground support. So the problem
Which
is
Kashmir
that the
has,
real
big
cost of the KPS Gill example is not what he did to human rights, because we have screwed with human rights in many different places, many different times. The real cost is the example, because the Punjab example is the only example in Indian history when that kind of brutality has actually apparently led to a solution. Normally what the Indian state does is it clamps down on something and then it opens the door for the people to come in. That's what happened in the Northeast. That's what happened in Mizoram. That's what happens across. That's what actually happened with after SS Ray. You clamp down on the Nakshals and you open a door to the parliamentary left. Right? And it's like you create this way, you clamp down on the extremes and you say, Baki sab aa jao, Chief Minister ban jaye. All right, that never actually happened in the same way in Punjab.
It happened in Assam as well from about 85.
In many ways, yeah. But Punjab has created this malign example and so powerful, and I had said, no, this is the way that you solve the problem.
Correct.
When you did not solve the problem like that, you solved the problem because it got solved because Pakistan shifted attention to Kashmir.
That's a very good point. Although
That's
even
a good point,
some of the defense think tank experts in the podcast I did on Kashmir, although they've kind of said the same thing, but they've said Kashmir blew up because there was nothing to do in Punjab. So all the resources are diverted there. But yeah, interesting.
Sun liya Afrika, Mufat Khoron. Not to brag or anything, but News Laundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free.
All News Laundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.